Hello. That was good, right? Anyway, welcome to another exciting, riveting episode. That sounds so sarcastic because now they're going to think it's boring. Welcome to another episode of the At Wits End podcast. I am your co-host, Steve. That's my other co-host, Gaston, and we have a special guest today. Our pops, old man Horn. This is our dad, Rod Horn, flown in special VIP tickets, first class,
all the way from up the street.
Yeah.
From up the street,
You know how it goes,
and
right?
around the corner. Right?
We got him a nice meal, some McDonald's.
There you go.
It's funny because we didn't even buy the meal. He just got McDonald's.
That's okay. Got the coffee.
We treat our guests right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Next thing, we're gonna get you a pillow. You want a pillow, sir? We got cushions in the car.
Not
so
unless y'all want to watch me sleep.
that's fine. That wouldn't. Hopefully, that would be less exciting than what we're gonna talk about today, which is
We are going to continue our conversation from the last episode
nailed it.
on Black culture.
Nailed it.
Something that is often mysterious and vague, not only to everyone else, but to Black people themselves. 6 out of 10.
Only. I mean, you know.
But we're going to continue with our conversation. So if you want to check out where this conversation began, we'll put a link in the description, I suppose.
To part one. Yeah,
That was nice.
yeah.
But
Just try my best.
we're gonna jump right into it. So something that we didn't get to talk about last time on the show is where some of the traditions, so to speak, of Black culture came from. Personally, for Black Americans anyway, I think that we are more tied together with with the aspects of our culture through events in American history that either prominently included us or happened to us. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think, for example,
say that again for me. We're tied to.
like we're tied together more by events than by ancestry.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So, for example, I think slavery is something that gives Black Americans more traditions than us just being from the same place.
Well, hang on. I wouldn't even say traditions. I would just say identity. That seems to be more apt.
Elaborate.
Oh, that's a can of worms right there.
The word identity, or
Yeah.
Well, I'm just okay. I'll say this: that I think there are and have been a lot of people who tie their blackness back to some sort of oppression, which is fair, I would say, just because, like the black African American race, black race, whatever, like through periods of American history is us being oppressed for the majority of it.
Okay.
I say us, like
So,
I was
but
there.
do you realize that if you say that, then the implication is that part of our cultural identity is that we perceive ourselves to be victims.
Wow.
Oops.
Wow.
No, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what
the
I'm.
implication.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
I should say I'm okay with the implication.
Oh, okay.
That's what I should say.
All
So
right.
I'm not making that. I'm not. I shouldn't. I should specify. I'm not making that case, but I would say that a lot of people do, and a lot of Black people do act that way.
Well, do you think that's true?
That our culture is in fact tied to victimhood.
or that we are victims.
That it imparts a victim status to our perception of ourselves.
It can, and a lot of people accept it.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's necessarily true. Like I don't think if you were to ask, or I should say, if you had Black culture, you wouldn't say Black culture equals victimhood or something.
Okay.
I would say a lot of Black people equate the two, and say that because we are Black, we are therefore victims of something.
Okay.
I don't even
Yo,
think people
can
do
you
that.
see your face right
Right.
now?
I can't. What's
You're
it
just
look
like.
That's my thinking face.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Just wanna
even
make sure.
think-
I want to make sure you weren't sick.
To follow that point, though, I don't even think people equate those two things consciously. It's almost like it's just innate, almost for some people.
It's conscious effort to do that.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know, but where I kind of was going with this is two different things. The first thing is this perception. So I am considerably older than both of you.
Like 70.
Man, if you don't stop it. I'm 56, so your audience will know. When I grew up, my dad used to tell me all the time. So here's what you have. I'm a child of the civil rights era. My father is a child of the Jim Crow era. So he grew up in the segregated South, moved up to Maryland in the late 40s, and pretty much stayed here the rest of his life. So some of my family is still in North Carolina, and some of it is up here. Some has spread out all over the country. But what my dad used to tell me growing up was, you have to be. He's just tell me to my face, because you are black, you have to be twice as good and work twice as hard to get half as much as, quote, the white man.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a fact of life for, I think, a lot of people in my generation, and maybe some folks older than me.
Mm-hmm.
We understood that we lived in a society where there was a group of people, then the numerical majority, soon to be the numerical minority, who simply disapproved of us because of our skin color, and were not happy to see us get any sort of economic parity or to have the opportunity to express ourselves politically. It was a given. We accepted it. We dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I live now in a society where, for some odd reason, the perception that we are victims of some sort of oppression does not produce more diligence in the way we conduct ourselves, but less. So, I mean, there's two reactions to me. There are two reactions to victimhood. One is, I strive harder to overcome those who are trying to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
The other is, I give up.
Oh, well.
So you're saying you see more people giving up?
Yeah, I do, really. I've had 24 years in Baltimore City public school classrooms, and the work ethic that I see or have seen in the kids that have come through my classroom is just, frankly, non-existent.
Okay. Well, why do you think that is?
Because they see themselves as victims.
Oh, well, I mean, okay. That literally, he did just say that. You guys.
Well, that's why we brought him on
My bad.
for the hard-hitting academic content.
No,
Yeah,
because see, to me, the reality is that it is so ingrained that I am a victim of oppression, that the thought that if I fight hard enough, I can overcome whatever this thing is, has simply disappeared.
So it's just that
I'm a victim. I can't win, so why try? That seems to me to be the mindset that young people are bringing into the classroom, and I spent almost a quarter century of my life trying to get them to understand that yes, you can. So the issue is not, are you a victim of oppression? The issue is, how will you respond to that status? And you got two options: you fight harder or you lay down. And I don't understand why so many are laying down.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it might be like,
Ooh.
I mean, I guess we're just jumping to this now, but it might be a problem where black people aren't really as unified as they were before. It's easier to feel like you can beat a thing or get past a thing when you're with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you think there's an issue with how unified black people are as a group in America?
I have heard the argument, I'm not sure how persuasive it is, but I have heard the argument made that integration really led to the fragmentation of the so-called black community. Because at least under Jim Crow, you knew that if you didn't stick together with your people, you and possibly they were doomed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with integration, with at least the elimination of de facto segregation, of de jure segregation, you get the perception that because now I'm legally equal, I can go do whatever I want to do, and I don't have to pay attention as much as I used to the elders in my community, to the other members of my peer group, my age group, so on and so forth, and that every man now can look out for himself instead of us having to look out for one another. I'm not sure how much of that I buy, but I do know that we are much more fragmented in 2018 than we were in 1968.
Well, wouldn't that? I shouldn't say it would depend, but partially, would you say that now? Okay, so here's what I'm going with. Do you think that we care about race more or less than we did?
I think we care about it just as much, maybe more, as we did back then. But there are two things that are missing. The first thing that's missing is I don't think there's a sense of urgency in our community as or in the minds and hearts of the so-called disinterested middle ground.
Oh, the black people in general, or
No.
just people?
So I'm talking about two different groups. So what I'm trying to say is in the black community, I don't think there is much a sense of urgency as there used to be.
Right.
But I also in one of the things that King's aimed at was
Martin Luther King Jr. By the way,
those
you gotta say it. You never
man,
know.
that's
Yeah, somebody
never
would
know.
think King the fighting game.
no.
Yeah, or like
But
King James.
one of the things he aimed at was getting people off the fence. He used to say that there were people of goodwill who simply did not know how bad it was, and if you could get them on your side, then you would have an opportunity to make change. And that was the whole the whole rationale behind nonviolent resistance.
Yeah, that's
that
why.
that it would become clear to witnesses who the transgressors were and who the victims were, and that those people, because they were good-hearted, decent people, would then come down on the side of the victims and help to make things right. And that worked.
Yeah.
But that group, I think, is no longer conscious that systemic racism is still a problem. They think that because the law has changed, the reality has changed. And reality really hasn't changed. The only thing now is, instead of no blacks or white only, what you see are signs that say starting at $500,000. Do you get what I'm saying?
I
So-
understand.
so
I
you're
disagree,
saying-
but I understand.
So you're
You
saying that
disagree.
I disagree.
Okay,
Well, we-
let
we-
him summarize and then
we
tell me
talked
why you
about this
disagree.
last week too. So have at it.
No, you gotta say your thing.
Well, no, I was going to say, just to summarize, your feeling is that now instead of the oppression being specifically aimed at blacks, it's more economic suppression.
But because it's economic,
It affects black people more.
yeah, so in the economic race, we start out 16, 19, 60. We essentially start out 250 some years. My math is off, but
Yeah,
we're
it's
over
okay.
200 years behind in that race. And so then naturally, if you then enact a set of rules in the middle of the race that affect people who are trailing, and you say it's only for people who are behind in the race, but you know most of those people are black, brown,
But it's not.
then it is.
It's not most. No, that's the problem. I guess it's the issue of numbers, right?
Okay.
Because it's not most of the people are minority groups. Most of the people are white people, right? So then I guess the issue is how do you determine, like, how would you say that
Oh, I
someone
see
something
I see
is
what you're saying.
something is racist?
That's not what I meant.
Oh, okay,
What I meant was proportionally.
okay.
Proportionally, more of us are poor. If you take our 11 or
Okay.
12%,
I understand.
proportionally,
It's like
a larger
7%.
number of us are in poverty.
Yeah.
Than if you just separated,
Numbers.
disaggregated by race.
Yeah.
A larger percentage of us are in poverty than the percentage of them.
Okay.
Now, numerically, that smaller percentage.
that's
of
what I thought
them
you were saying.
Is
We're good.
still more than us, but proportionally,
Yeah.
it prevents us from doing what we need to do within our own communities.
Pay
We
attention
can't,
and
we can't support our colleges.
Make sure you pay attention in math and statistics class, kids.
Yes.
Pull out a-
or you'll be like me. I'm able to figure out what 18, 16, 19 from 1965 is. But my point is, we can't support our own colleges. We can't support our own private schools. We can't support our own business. We could support our businesses, but we have some spending issues that we can't really address because we're dependent on public schools more than we can depend on households or churches or other organizations that we control to teach financial literacy. And so the other point I was trying to make is that not only is the sense of urgency gone, but I think also, I hate when that happens. See, that's what happens when you get old.
I was gonna make that joke, but he did it, so now it's not
Yeah,
a
I
joke.
did
It's
it.
just
I
kind
did
of
it.
like
Yeah,
it
it's
was-
kind of sad now. But my point is that the urgency is gone, but also
I'm gonna interrupt
our
real quick.
ability
Oh yeah, okay.
is
Diminished.
just diminished because we've sort of gone off in too many different directions. We're not focused on building one another up. We're focused on building self up.
We talked about that last week. Make sure you hit that link in the description. Go
Okay,
back
go
and watch it.
Okay.
Hit the
The other
bell
thing,
icon.
No,
the
I
other
just
thing
was
will come
a-
back to me
you
in
know.
a minute.
Hit
Okay.
the bell
I should've brought a
icon.
pen.
Make sure you subscribe. That way you wouldn't miss this.
Yeah. Hit that bell icon. Get notifications. Anyway, you don't do ads halfway through, or
Nah,
like
this is
10
almost-
minutes in. Whatever.
15 minutes in the same difference.
Whatever. That's fine.
Okay, so that's actually an interesting point because, like you mentioned, that we seem like distracted, I guess. So,
a good way to put
may I ask, what distractions do you think exist?
This is like turning into an interview now. Jeez.
It is
Oh,
great.
that's what I was going to say. Not only do we lack the sense of urgency, we lack the knowledge of how to affect change. We, for some odd reason, we think that gathering together in the street and burning stuff or marching up in front of somebody's office is going to affect political change. That stuff looks good on television. Well, not the part where you're burning and destroying property, because that just makes you look like the villain.
Skip that part.
But the part where you're organized and where you show large numbers in front of government officials, that looks good on television. But the reality is that we no longer have the political literacy within ourselves to be able to get people in positions of power to do their jobs properly.
I wouldn't go that far.
What would you say?
I kind
I
of
wouldn't.
agree.
I wouldn't say we lack the literacy, because people know that.
You think they do?
You walk down the street, find the pardon this expression, the most ghettoest old lady you could not even old lady, the
ghettoest.
You could walk up to a homeless person. Sorry,
Hey, man, that's just smacks of class discrimination.
it is. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to find someone who.
But I
who
knew what you
most
meant,
people
though.
would expect someone to be politically whatever. Point is, find someone you'd expect to be politically illiterate,
all right.
and they could tell you that it's important to vote. They could tell you why.
Yeah.
And the question isn't whether or not we know; it's whether or not we do it. It's
I
not a
don't
literacy thing. It's a discipline thing. I don't even know what to call it. Like
See,
the
I
difference is
disagree.
the difference is we all know the right thing to do, the good thing to do. The difference is do we do it?
Oh, but see,
That's what I think.
And I think your answer right there proves my point.
Go for it.
Because
Rock and roll, sir.
No, seriously,
Anyway.
because it's vote is important, but the real influence now. Come on, man, you know as well as I.
No,
do.
I mean you
The
know
real
I was
influence
shorthand.
now- the real influence now is wielded by the lobbyists
That's fine.
at the state level
Okay.
and at the federal level.
All right.
The lobbyists work for companies that finance both campaigns.
All right.
They
That's fair.
dole money out to the Republican and they dole money out to the Democrat. So no matter who wins, that person is beholden to them in some way, form, or fashion.
That's fair.
And then when it is time to discuss whether or not a policy is or is not going to get enacted, the lobbyist comes down, he's got a ready ear, and he or she explains, this is why you should do this, blah, 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 blah. And now everything is being done to cater to the corporations because the corporations, quote unquote, provide jobs. But the reality is that jobs are provided by small businesses. Communities develop when small businesses develop. Why is it that if you go to Park Heights, the only small businesses that can get loans are bars and
Liquor stores. Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
now.
we actually
I mean,
very
I'm just
specifically
saying.
mentioned that last week. There's a liquor store next to a daycare center on Park Heights.
And they're
a crab
trying
shack,
to
too.
put, and they're trying to put more in. And not only do they want to put more liquor stores in, they want to change the zoning law so that you can drink in or carry out.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
In a community that has those kinds of problems, how does that benefit anyone?
Literally only the people who work there.
Not even the people who work
people who
there.
own it.
The people who own
That's
it.
fair. Okay.
Right.
And I guess the liquor company.
and the liquor company. So naturally,
Miller Lite.
So what do you get? You get lobbyists saying, do this and do that, and let's have this and have that. And the people's voices are not heard. So the first thing you have to do is, before we even voting for somebody to make that decision, that somebody has to understand who they need to listen to.
Yeah.
But they don't, because we're individual voices with individual dollars, but the lobbyists are united voices with united dollars, because industries are paying
Okay.
candidate A to run and candidate D to run. I should say candidate R to run and candidate D to run.
Yeah.
So how do we organize? How do we use what we have? We don't have enough money to compete with them, but we do have enough votes.
But people see, this is why I was going to.
This is what we were talking about last week.
But
in terms of voting.
But this is why I disagree with you about asking random people if voting was important.
Okay.
Because I don't think every random person thinks voting is important.
I don't think every random person thinks that either. Most random people do, not every single one.
I mean, like we said, we keep doing this. We should probably stop doing this.
Come on.
But like we said last,
We said it last week, guys.
episode,
But there are certain things that if they're not dealt with, conditions won't change. So if you have to say it 100 times, you say it 100 times until somebody listens. I mean, that's the bottom line. Somebody has to listen.
And a lot of
and
people
make a change.
But a lot of people don't when it comes to voting. And to your point about voting literacy as well, how many people say they don't vote in, smaller elections because it doesn't do anything? But then we'll get mad at the president.
Well, the
because-
local elections are the most important.
Right. But Barack Obama, it's his fault because he didn't do anything for black people.
I mean, that's arguably true. Wait, not the his fault part, the second part. But yeah,
I mean, he didn't do anything specifically for black people, I guess. But
I was kidding.
He did
You
stuff
took that
that-
way too seriously.
help black people.
You just, that was not a serious statement. Anyway. Yeah, okay. So, no, yeah, okay. That was a pretty good bow, honestly.
No,
Yeah.
But the whole point of this was that where we started from was that we are I believe that we as a people are struggling because we no longer have the sense of urgency we had when segregation was a legalized thing, and B, we have lost the sense of political literacy and really our sense of political efficacy. We don't believe. I don't think the majority of us believe that political activity is a viable way to change things.
Well,
And it just seems to me that there's just like this fundamental break in our culture. Older generation, let's be politically active. Most of the older generation, let's be politically active. Most of the younger generation, let's be militant.
well, I think
And
that's
militancy
oh, sorry, man.
has a place, but only only as a counterbalance. And part of the problem is, I'm not even sure that we have a common goal anymore. One thing I remember.
You going in the Wayback Machine?
Yeah, I'm going to jump right in there. And Mr. Peabody's waiting for me. So,
Wow, that is a deep cut.
Yeah.
but one thing I do remember from growing up in the 60s is that it was widely held belief amongst the majority of black people that political activity, getting the vote, gaining public office, especially at the local, state levels, was going to be a key factor in changing our condition and in elevating our status. I'm not sure the majority of us believe that anymore.
Well, I think that's because back in the day, like I was there, right? I think the difference is that an obvious solution to discrimination is law. Because I mean, it was on the books, and it was like obvious to see that if under the law, black people were given the same rights, that would be at least a solution to a lot of the problems that existed, right? So nowadays, like name the problems that black people are facing.
Yes.
And it's not obvious that a law or that the government can solve those problems.
But there is an obvious strategy that will solve many of those. To me, it's a two-pronged issue. When I look at what seems to be going on with us, there seems to be two serious issues. The first issue is not in any particular order, but the first one I'll talk about is economic parity.
Okay.
So, in order for us to be viable in this society, we need economic parity. Well, how do you achieve economic parity when you are a statistical minority? The answer is you support small business and education in your community.
Okay.
So literally, what the Jewish people do?
I mean, yeah.
Because
But
we
they're
talked
not-
about that last
But
episode.
they're not the only one. Here we go, the last episode.
I mean, we did.
But look,
No, because Chinese people do it, Indian people do it.
Pretty much
Every minority group that's not
does it.
Mexican does it. Even they do it better than we do.
immigrants come to this country in the 20th and 21st century. They work together, they live together. One or two will be able to find work, and they will support as many as they can until by that second generation, those kids have gone through, they've gotten an education, they have, I hate to use the term, but they have assimilated into the culture. And then they, in turn, use their economic power the same way the first generation did. And in that way, by the time you get around to the third or fourth generation, you have a very sustainable nucleus of individuals who can be the economic backbone of the rest of the group as it grows. And you do that at the local level. So in cities like New York or Philadelphia or Baltimore or Charleston or New Orleans, you see it over and over and over again. What has happened to us is we used to do that under segregation, but once integration came along, that stuff sort of went out of the way.
Like you said you weren't sure before, but you seem to be making a case.
Of
That
what?
segregation was bad. I know he's not doing it on purpose.
no, I'm not-
He said he wasn't sure, and then he's just like,
It's like
this whole segregation
it's,
thing.
no, it's like anything else. Look.
Anyway,
It's like anything else. There's
you take the good to the bad, and you get the facts of life.
stuff that we.
I know the song.
All right, show's over.
No. in the concise way to say it, that's exactly what it is. Well, the question is, how do we get that good part back and still retain the advantages that we got from integration?
See. This is a
And
perfect time.
and that good part was we stuck together. We supported each other's businesses. The church was a support mechanism, and that brings the other thing.
I don't know if we're getting that back anytime soon.
No, but the other thing is that I honestly believe there's a crisis of values in our community.
Talking about that too?
That there are certain things that we simply have forgotten, things that are really important. And number one on that list is the respect for life is just, it's gone.
That's a new one. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm saying that as a public school teacher in a predominantly African American city. It's just gone. I mean, people kill over really stupid stuff.
But Dad,
Not you had an affair with my wife.
But those shoes.
you
those
scuffed my
shoes.
Jordans.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
My Jordans.
I mean, to be fair though, they were like $230.
I mean, that's a. Yeah, I get it.
You should have bought you some $19 shoes because you knew they were going to get scuffed up, and took that other money and invested in some stocks or some mutual funds or something else that was going to bring revenue instead of drain.
Hang on.
But
Hear
I
me
need
out.
to
Hear me
know
out. Hear me
about
out.
that first.
Hear me out. Try this on for size.
My point.
Try this on for size. Go back, Victorian era, right? No, hang on.
I am not that old.
No. Think about it, right?
Okay.
You used to get into duels with people, and you kill them for disrespecting you, right?
Are you saying that we
What if we're so
we disrespect life so much
we're
we've gone in a
we're
circle?
so honorable that we value honor so much that we kill people for disrespecting us even a little bit? Huh?
So
How about that positive spin, huh?
So
we-
we're devolving rather than evolving.
I mean, look,
it's a loop.
last time
We've
I
gone in a
checked,
circle.
I think it was how did Alexander Hamilton die?
Yeah.
Right?
Quickly.
honorable. Not really. He's kind of a dick. Pardon my expression, but it's okay.
Can you say that on the internet?
Dick. You can say what it.
Well, we're PG-13, so we can.
I can say that. I can say that as many times as I want.
Yeah, we can only drop one
Please
F-bomb.
don't.
I won't.
Yeah.
Look, if we get heated, somebody can come in, drop an F-bomb, we can just leave. And
But only once.
only one.
Well,
Then we're rated R.
Hopefully we don't get that heat.
But nah, that's actually so your point about pushing your resources back towards the community
Right.
brings up an interesting thing that was on the episode last week.
I feel like we should stop saying it. And just
mean,
go watch it
No,
and come back.
yeah,
If
somebody
we say
go watch
it, if we say it enough, maybe they'll go look at it. Maybe leave a comment or like or subscribe. Or
both.
hit the bell
We need
icon.
a sound effects machine because I would definitely do a cricket thing.
It's
Go
in
ahead, go
the
ahead,
it's
go
in the
ahead.
works. It's in the works. We're gonna soundboard one day.
One day soon. But nah, that actually segues into another conversation I wanted to have
Okay.
about how we've kind of twisted that value into what can I get from myself? Mm-hmm. And I think a large facet of that part of our culture comes from entertainment.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
Oh, now what particular?
The selfish part.
I mean, what particular entertainment are you speaking about? You talking about popular media? You talking about sports? You talking about movies? What?
Oh wow,
I mean, to
that
be
works
totally-
for all of those things.
It does, because I feel like
Wow, it's crazy.
I feel like as a whole, all of those things, the showcase, especially with the black people involved in those things, is of getting mine.
LeBron James
To be fair, I would say he's actually one of the few that doesn't do that.
does
in
now.
sports.
He does now. He didn't before.
Well,
Well, wait a minute now.
Something
So if you're between contracts and you go where the most money is, I really can't fault you for that.
nah.
No, I fault him
That's-
for saying he was gonna stay and then not. That's what I fault
When
him
did
for.
he say he was going to stay?
You talking about with Cleveland?
Yeah, right before his contract. The very first time. Like go back 10 years.
The decision.
The very first time.
The decision.
yeah.
I will.
That's I mean, look, I'm exaggerating. That's the only fault I ever give him.
I will.
Is
chalk
he lied
that
the
up
first
to,
time.
I'll chalk that up to inexperience.
'Cause what was he
maybe
like?
what he was trying to
That's
say
fair.
was, I want to stay if I get the right deal.
Because what
That's
was he
fair.
like 24, 25?
He was young.
young kid.
Look, that's the thing. I give LeBron James a lot of flack, but literally that's really the only thing he's done wrong.
But my problem though is not with guys who my contract has expired. I'm going to go where I can get the best payday because after all, they do have a responsibility to look out for themselves and for their families and for their future. My problem though is with guys who signed a contract last year and because Jimmy on the other team got a bigger paycheck and I think I'm better than him, you have to give me more money even though I agreed to play for this amount of money. So on the one
That's
hand,
fair.
I want to be respected, but on the other hand, I don't keep my word. I don't see how those two things go together.
I feel like the problem is since over the years those contracts have become so big and so negotiable.
In every sport except for football.
Right? I feel like taking liberties with changing contracts has just become a norm. Like once it happens the first
but that's
like,
my point. It has become a norm, and it shouldn't.
That's
It used to be a time when a man's word was his bond. So if you gave your word, then that's what you did. Now, if you think you might want an out, take a 1-year deal.
I'm going to throw this out
That's-
there,
yes.
though. I'm going to throw this out there real quick.
Excuse me.
So, with sports, since we're talking about that, have you noticed that only like certain types of players ever do that? Like, when was the last time you saw a Tom Brady like hold out for a better
Literally was
contract?
the person I was thinking of.
Yeah, like to your point about pumping more money back into your community. Like, have you noticed that a lot of those white quarterbacks frequently like, nah, I'll wait for my contract. We need a new lineman or like a new receiver or pay this person.
I don't know enough about professional contracts to be like, yeah, it's true. But
What I
in
will
the
say-
news, it's
Go ahead.
It's in the news. People come when there's contract disputes. It's mostly black people.
in certain positions.
Yeah,
Okay, so the question becomes
stars.
So a few questions. First, does the fact that it's not reported mean it's not happening?
No, I'm just saying. I'm
No.
saying that was me saying I don't know.
But what
I'm talking about the ones that are
what I'm
public.
asking is the ones that are made public. Is there bias in the fact that some are made public and some are not? Second question
Probably.
is
There could be.
maybe some of those white guys don't have to worry about it as much because they've got endorsement deals on the side. if I'm making 60 million pushing Papa John's pizza, I don't really need to worry about an extra 9 in my contract.
Accurate. But
Yeah,
I would
so
argue
then-
that you
oh,
can't.
okay.
I would argue that you won't get a sponsorship deal if you're constantly, re-upping your contract. Like, no one wants to give Le'Veon Bell, for example, a sponsorship because, dude, you sat out for the season as opposed to doing your job.
Well, so then it'd be a chicken and egg thing, right?
Like, which came first?
Yeah. Do I not get sponsorships because I'm like,
Because people don't trust me to keep my word, or do I?
or do I act like that because?
Because I can't get the sponsorships, and this is the only source of income I have,
Yeah.
It is an interesting conundrum.
and that for a limited time.
Yeah.
So I mean, you think about all the stuff that goes into being a professional athlete. In most cases, you have to self-insure.
Yeah.
And most cases, you got, I don't want to say an entourage, but you got people that you have to have. So you got to have at least one attorney, you got to have an agent, and you got to have a financial manager.
Yeah.
So you're carrying a bunch of people. And you only have a limited life on the field, and then you got to be doing something else. And if you came out with a degree in communication, you got a problem. I'm not dissing communication, but I'm
No, I was
saying,
thinking you're right. It doesn't lead to a lot.
Yeah,
and
unless you can-
not everybody is going to end up in the
booth.
broadcast booth or on a some sort of sports show.
That's fair.
So I get the idea that you got to push, but once you have pushed and signed your name, do what you said you were going to do. Makes
Well,
us
I
look
feel
bad.
like because then, as far as because we're talking about sports now, I think at least the way sports that black people are prominent in, so basketball, football,
Baseball, not
yeah,
really.
not even baseball that much. That's more of a Hispanic thing nowadays.
Yeah.
Dominicans and stuff. I feel
You're
like
right.
it was anyway.
It sounded bad,
yeah,
but you're
it
right.
did. But I feel like since a lot of those sports are geared toward like producing superstars, especially basketball,
Yeah.
I feel like when black people enter into that kind of arena,
But you
that's what
notice-
they're going for. That's what
but
they
you-
want it to
But you
do, so.
notice that basketball is the one sport. The NBA is the one sport where you don't see this. I don't know about hockey, so maybe them too. But the NBA is the one major sport where we're where we're widely represented, where you don't see this sort of thing, where you don't have
You don't.
issues about
It's
blacks
true, yeah.
about blacks getting into the next level, being coaches or being in the executive offices. There's profit sharing. There's some other things that go on, and you just don't see this. But you see a lot of it in football, and you used to see a lot of it in baseball.
Well, to quote, I'm trying
baseball's
to.
got a-
I've heard it from quite a
football's got
few
a-
different people.
Football has a ton of problems anyway.
But like a lot of people say that football on the college and the NFL level kind of has like a plantation mentality to it.
I've heard that.
And especially looking at the transition between the two, like for a college athlete to go to the NFL, you can definitely see some of the parallels with that. Like between literally going to the draft and being measured for value before you get picked by predominantly white owners.
they got to check
How
your weight and
tall
your
is
height.
he?
Yeah,
How
that's
fast is
crazy.
he? How long are his arms? How long are his legs? How big are his feet? How wide is his butt? How much can he lift? How much can he carry?
How much can he jump?
How far can he throw? How high can he jump? I mean, I agree with you. It's all physical. And then what they use to exclude us from certain positions, and they're still doing it, is how smart is he?
Oh, the Wonderlic thing?
Yeah.
The
what's
dumbest test
Whoa,
in the
hold on,
world?
what?
What's your football IQ? Dude, I'm a football player. My football IQ is 100 because I play football.
And I'm good
Yeah, I've
enough
never
to-
heard that
yeah.
before.
You
Yeah.
never heard that before? Dude.
So there's something called.
I don't follow football like that.
Here's
so.
here's a little bit. It's funny because I was about to say here's the behind baseball, but we're talking about football.
Wow, get out of here.
Right. So in football, when you do the draft, of course you get graded on all that physical stuff if you go to the combine. But then they have something called a Wonderlic test.
Is it spelled like a last name? Like
Wonder
It's W-
LIC.
Yeah.
what?
No,
Yeah, it's weird.
It's WU.
Oh, it is. You're right. WU is German.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like CKE, but that's fine.
So what's interesting about it is it's 50 questions. And you would think that since you're going to a football draft, it would ask you questions about football situations.
No.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's basically like a miniature version of a more difficult SAT.
Yeah. Okay, hang on, because here's. There's like there's some sound in the
I feel
studio.
like I'm in London in 1940.
There's some sound in the studio. I don't know.
Yeah,
What
it's a
was weird.
miniature IQ test.
No, hang on. Because now that you're saying it, there was one thing that I remembered when I was playing football in high school.
Yeah,
That our lineman coach said.
linemen always get better grades.
Yeah, he said linemen always get better grades because they're smarter because they have to learn more plays.
No.
And-
Wouldn't you think quarterbacks would be the smartest then?
Well, they were dumb. Granted, it doesn't really mean anything. Everyone on my team was dumb. It's really aggravating, and I don't know why I played.
You're going to get a lot of mail about that.
Feel free to leave your comment.
Go
below.
right ahead. Leave a comment. Just subscribe so I can talk bad about my high school football team some more. That's fine.
Goodness.
Anyway,
Oh my goodness.
look, if any of them are watching this, hey, what's up? How's it going? But you know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking
So
about.
you're saying they knew they knew they were dumb.
Or maybe they didn't because they were
Literally,
dumb.
it's like maybe not. It was like me and two other guys were just in the higher classes,
excuse
and
me.
like
Okay, go ahead.
anyway.
Make your
But that
point.
was my point. Was that I feel like the intelligence thing. It's always a factor just to see how smart you are outside of football. Just because it determines how you act outside of off the field. Excuse me.
And that's the
but
justification.
they have stuff for
I shouldn't say it
that.
determines, but it
Because they
is
do,
an indicator. if
but
you
that's
will.
still kind of a weird thing that they use to exclude certain people.
I would just look at their
Because
habits.
they
It's
have,
not hard.
well, that.
Just do that.
But they already do
guess it's more
mock
expensive, though.
interviews. They do mock interviews
Oh,
with everyone.
okay. I didn't know that.
And they ask, first of all, since we're talking about race and culture, some of those mock interviews are slanted too. Like a famous example, I can't remember the player's name,
This better be reasonable.
but it's
Unreasonable,
not
sorry.
at all. Like
Unreasonable,
apparently
sorry.
one NFL team asked a guy like, "Is your mom a prostitute?"
Was she?
No,
And
but
then-
problem solved.
but then
now-
they're
Problem
saying,
solved.
but
like,
if the
how
re-
would you react?
but
If
if
your
the resp-
reaction's bad,
So if the
now they're going to
response
judge you.
if the response comes back was yours, then
You goofed up.
No,
Nah,
no.
we can't hire you
Then-
'cause you're a
then-
liability
yeah,
on
you're
the podium.
too temperamental.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Look, so here's my thing that I've always found questionable. I think you hit on it before, sort of. When I was growing up, my mom,
I mean, way back in the day.
Megan, back in my day,
Go
when you had to, when everything was uphill both ways and it was always snowing.
Yes.
My mom, and you did too, you guys both collectively always said that there was like a target on my back because I was black, right? And I had to act a certain way,
Yes.
just in case.
And so you're gonna say, since a guy sitting in the chair knows that when the question comes, he's supposed to be smart enough to keep his cool.
Not quite.
Okay, go ahead.
That is close, but I'm saying since a lot of, because I wasn't even going to say the guy in the chair, since a lot of black people think that, whether it's true or not, because a lot of times it's not true.
Okay.
It's just like perceived paranoia. Since I think that, then everything you said.
Right.
Why don't I act in a certain way? Granted, I understand it's tiring and it's really annoying, and sometimes you're just not having a good day or whatever, and you don't have time for that. But in certain situations, like during a job interview, you just kind of, go, no, my mom was not a prostitute. Yeah, it's disrespectful. It's annoying. But if I need or want that job, then I'm going to put up with that.
I get that.
At least for a second. Until
See,
I
I
can tell that guy to shove it. Pardon my
I
expression.
agree with you, but I also think that football executives and coaches definitely use that as a way. You got to call that some other prior engagement.
Stop, yeah. See, I was.
He was going to let it go, but then I started
I'm
laughing.
just playing it off.
And then I started laughing.
Keep going.
To continue though, like I would argue that coaches and executives still use that as a way to bar entry. So, for example, I'll ask a question. I'll say, "Hey," like they'll ask something inflammatory, like,
And then you get baited.
the-
Like,
the,
come on, dude.
"Is your mom a prostitute?" question.
Yeah, don't get baited.
Or
Like,
how much does your mom cost? Because
Yeah.
that happened once before too.
how much? Wait, I'm sorry. What?
How much does your mother cost? Or how much does she charge? I think was the question.
That's not funny. I'm sorry.
It's not. It's actually a really terrible question.
funny.
But so let's say you answer that way. So you answer with a stone-faced question. Oh, well, you're not engaging enough. We don't want to put you on the podium anyway. Like there's always a way to say,
Yeah.
no, nah.
All right, that's fair. No, that's completely
but-
fair.
but-
I understand.
But then the other thing is, you have access to a guy's record. You know what's going on.
You don't even need to ask a question at all.
So a guy like Ryan Leaf, who did not know he was going to have a meltdown at some point along the way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't get why certain guys, no matter what they do, they get a pass, and somebody somewhere will bring them into the organization.
Well, it's the
And
optics.
certain other guys who have nothing going against them, they can't get a break.
Yeah,
And I don't want
that's
to
a
say
good
that
question. I
it
don't know.
only happens to black guys. I mean, if you look at Kurt Warner, he was out of football at one point, bagging groceries in the supermarket. So you can't say, I don't want to make it into a race thing, but at the same time, when it happens to us, there's always this question: is it a race thing?
Yeah, that's fair. Because at a certain point, it's really not almost impossible, but it's very difficult to tell sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
whether someone is just like that greedy or they just don't like black people.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to tell sometimes.
And
So
I think that is our biggest problem. I don't want to say our biggest problem.
A large problem.
A large problem for us is that somehow it has become unfair of us to ask that question. In the eyes of many white folks, it's unfair for us to say, was this about race?
Oh, well, calling somebody racist is like calling them the N-word.
I wouldn't go that far.
But
no, I would say.
no, apparently not, because now calling somebody the N-word is okay.
Well, yeah, because
Only
I'm not
if you're
saying it's
black.
okay. It's because it's not okay. But my response to being called the N-word says a lot about how much power that word has versus just them saying it.
I see. Now you're gonna say so. I don't.
Go
agree
for
with
it.
that.
Okay,
Words have meaning.
I understand.
Okay.
But if they don't mean anything to me, I don't
Liar.
care. Okay, dope. It doesn't. It literally doesn't matter unless everyone else believes it. And the problem is hang on.
That's my point.
The problem is, what does nigger mean? Like half the country doesn't care. Like if a black people don't care at all. Like
I do.
No, you misunderstand.
He's saying black people don't care if black
Like-
people say it.
What I mean is, if a white person or if anyone calls a black person nigger, what happens? Everyone knows, like, oh, you shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. So automatically, if someone calls me a nigger, what does that mean? I'm automatically the victim. So what does it matter if it's true, whatever it means or not? It doesn't, because whoever said it is wrong. Like, does that we connecting dots?
No, not really.
Basically, I blame Chris Rock for the words prevalent.
Go ahead, me. Go
But
ahead.
what I'm saying is, I'm trying to figure out how to make an analogy here. So if everyone knows that murder is wrong and I murder you, are you any less dead?
Yeah, okay, but that's only if we're not talking about life and death. That's why it's different.
No. Think about what I'm saying.
Okay.
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong to call you that?
Couldn't tell you.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, because I don't care. So
Because
that's the issue.
no. See, listen. The words have meanings.
Okay.
Okay. And so if no matter how much I try to say that this word now has a new meaning or now has no meaning,
That's not what I'm
the
saying,
word
right.
has meaning. And so when you call somebody that word, you are saying something about them. You are attaching a whole set of values and opinions to that person.
Yeah, but we're talking about an insult, and that's the issue.
But it's an insult.
Yeah, that's the issue, though, because like an insult
the
is
values and opinions that you're putting on that person are just they're ugly.
Yeah, but the problem I'm having is because it's an insult. Like when you murder someone, the conclusion of that is literally you are deprived of life. Like you can't get around that because that's what the word means, right? If now here's what I'll say. Well, instead of just using specific like the word nigger, if I insult someone, what have I deprived them of? Like even if I do it in a public space,
Their
unless
dignity.
everyone agrees, I haven't done anything. And that's the
yes,
issue.
you have.
Look, I have to be.
So,
hang on.
so you say,
if I'm
unless everyone agrees.
Yeah.
But in order to agree, what do I have to do?
understand. I'm not really sure where you're going with this one.
I can't agree with something unless I first question it. I can't agree or disagree. So you walk into a place, you have value. You have inherent value.
Yes.
Because you are a human being
Yes.
made in the image of God.
Yes.
I feel like
true.
you
I come along and insult you, and now I, obviously, plus everyone else in the room, is now questioning your value. Some
Okay.
portion of your dignity
Okay.
The dignity that you inherently have because you're made in the image of God has been called into question. And now everyone in the room is questioning themselves about you in a way
Okay.
they were not previously questioning
And this is
themselves
where
until the insult
And
was
this is
hurled
where
at
we can
you.
go and specifically talk about the N word again, which is what I was talking about
Mm-hmm.
when I said that when someone calls you the N word who's not black, you're automatically the victim.
Okay.
And I was saying that unless they are also racist, they won't agree with the things that that person said.
Okay.
Which I'm saying, like, unless you're in an environment that is already inherently racist, if a white person calls you a nigger, or me a nigger, or him a nigger, I'm gonna say nigger one more time, is
Nigger, nigger, nigger.
nigger.
Thanks.
Anyway, like
That's
if someone
pretty
does
good. I
that,
can't do it that part.
I,
Okay,
I'm
but your
ashamed.
point is what?
Is that if someone does that to you, there is no question of like, oh, is that true? Is this?
But,
It's
but,
just-
but
I don't-
what I'm saying is
Yeah.
there are questions. The first question is in the minds of everybody else in the room, who are you now?
You're the guy that got
then
called a nigger.
then there also becomes a question in your mind. What environment am I in?
Yeah, but then
I mean, that's true.
yeah, but what does that mean? Like I don't
That
know.
makes you
Because-
feel a little bit worse.
Yeah, you feel bad, but-
no, it isn't just that you feel
Okay.
bad. It's just that you begin responding in ways you would not have. When you go into a place where you trust people, you behave differently than when you go into a place where you distrust people.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if I'm going to get a job and trusting me is open and honest and cheerful and fairly easy to get along with, but distrusting me is closed off and reserved, answering in one or two words, what's going to happen in that interview? How do I come across to the person
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying
fair.
to get a job
I
from?
understand.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it now, but
And so the fact that you have to question what kind of environment you're in changes the way you respond to that environment.
that's fair. I personally, I have the ability to pretend, but I understand exactly what you mean. I think personally, this is just me. I'd have the ability to
But you ain't the only one.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said I understand exactly what you mean, and this is like my experience and
Yeah.
stuff. Is like me, I can just pretend like that didn't happen and ignore it. But I understand.
So look,
Because not everyone is going to do that.
you have a different you have a different perspective.
I took acting classes. Yeah.
No, you have a
I'm
different
lying,
perspective
but-
because you have grown up in mixed race environments.
Yeah.
Yes, we
I
have.
did not. I trust me, I did not.
That's true.
And I have been places all over the country. When I walk into a place, the first thing I do is look for other people that look like me.
Oh.
Excuse me.
So this is one of the hazards of being near children.
Excuse me. I'm terribly sorry.
They get
But
you
look,
sick.
my point is, I know what it is to be in a hostile environment. I'm not sure y'all do. It
I mean, that's fair.
changes. It really changes you, man. You close down. You have to.
I get it.
Because you don't know what's going to come at you in a place where there's, you don't know whether you're going to have any support if something jumps off. You don't know if something is going to jump off. I mean, these are real considerations that people in my generation had and really still have.
Okay.
So,
I get
so,
you.
but then the other thing is this: I want you to stop and I just say to you, if you close your eyes, and I said that word to you, what picture comes to your mind?
Oh, this is
in
about
general,
to be
or-
this is about to be a horribly stereotypical picture in your
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
Ain't my point though is that words have meaning.
I'm not denying the meaning.
And so when you put that label on somebody, there's an image that goes with it. And I guarantee you that whether you talk about a traditional context or a contemporary context, the image that goes with that word is not a positive one.
I agree.
Well, let me ask you
I think
this.
we're
then.
hang on just real quick.
Yeah.
And for
bookend it.
for any person to be comfortable wearing
said I
a
was
negative
comfortable.
image, I'm not. That's why I said, and I changed it to
Okay.
any person. For any person to be comfortable wearing a negative image says something about where they see themselves. You're not going to put negative images on me.
Okay.
So what happens is you have a conversation with somebody, and then this image comes up. The first thing I got to ask myself is, what is it about me that caused the person to put that negative image on me? The second thing I got to ask myself is if it seems that there is something, I got to go fix that. And if it seems that there isn't anything, then I have to deal with this person in a particular way so they get that whatever that image was, it doesn't apply to me.
Yeah, I guess because the issue is just on having that, like, you can do that, right? You can say, oh, you can think to yourself and you can recognize in other people that doesn't apply to me. So I'm like, I think, this is just me, I guess. I think you're giving the word itself and the act of the insult too much
Power.
Yeah, not over even in the
influence.
hypothetical situation. You're saying I think you're saying it has more power over a person than it does. Even people watching.
And I think you're not acknowledging how much power words actually have.
That's fair.
We think in words. Mm-hmm. We express ourselves in words. And why is this a table? And not a chair?
Because that's a chair.
Exactly. But seriously,
we're getting really meta all of a sudden.
No,
right?
Listen, seriously. If we all got up,
mm-hmm.
and decided that this is now a chair and this is now a table,
mm-hmm.
in a few years, guess what? This would be a table and that would be a chair.
Yeah. I mean,
you get what I'm saying?
I understand exactly
if you attach a name to something long enough,
mm-hmm.
the name sticks. But guess what? Everything that goes with it sticks. So what would we be sitting on 20 years from now?
Yeah,
we'd be sitting on this thing.
I think the problem is
because the meaning, even though we apply chair to this, the meaning of what a chair is remains the same. We would be sitting on this and eating off of this. Y'all get what I'm saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody would go, man, how stupid was it to make this? What kind of table is this?
I'm about to just.
Or why doesn't this chair have a back on it?
Right. Because I think this is where the difference in what we're talking about is I've grown up with people using nigger for literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
didn't it become a verb a while ago?
Yeah. Like to me, it at this point, and I think for a lot of people in our generation, the fact that they have separated nigga from nigger. One, that's the dumbest thing on the planet.
So if you take the "ger" off somehow, it's...
I think I'm just saying it's dumb.
Racist.
And I think that because we have divided the word up into so many subcategories of insult and not insult, it has lost its punch to our generation. So to the point where it literally, it just is an insult, to the point where people get offended by the fact that word exists. Like if we're reading Huckleberry Finn and you say the word nigger because it's written there and you're reading it, people get upset, even though you use the word. You use the word as the word, right? And I think that's part of the issue. Is I've grown up with people doing that. People like, you can't say the N word. Like if I say he said nigger and I was white, people would get upset with me, right? And I think that's part of where I'm coming from. Is that at this point I think the word nigger is just like that's a derogatory word for black people, and the meaning. Or the image that there's an image attached to it, but that's not what people go to. They just jump straight to I should be offended because that's mean, as opposed to I should be offended because, or it's mean because, or that's rude because, or whatever you want to call it. I would say that's bad because he said that person is less of a human being. They have less value just because of the color of skin.
Well,
I don't think that's where most people go when they hear the word. I think they just jump straight to I should be offended because that's an insult.
Well, yeah,
but because whether they go there or not, that's where the word ends up.
That's fair. I understand. I think that's just the difference, though.
See, my thing though is this. So
I was supposed to put a bookend on it, Dad. No, no, do your thing.
No,
I was gonna do it for you. I was gonna say it's 2018. We have the internet. What else? We can't have nuance anymore. What are you talking about?
Well, let me make this one point.
Okay.
20 minutes later. When there is such a thing as naming power, when you name something, when you get to name it, it becomes what you say it is. And for us to take a name that was put on us by people who hated us and try to make it into something else doesn't change that. It's still an emblem of hate.
Yeah. And
you can say, you my man, you my nigga, whatever. You can say that stuff all you want to.
Can you keep that accent though?
I don't know, man.
But sound like you're from Philadelphia. What is that?
But my point is that you just can't say it. If I were to run around, I mean no offense to anybody, but if I run around and call somebody a kike, no Jewish person is going to take that laying down. And you don't hear them using that about themselves because they understand where it comes from. You don't hear Mexicans or Latinos referring to themselves as wetbacks or spics.
They call themselves niggas, actually.
Why?
Because it's a cool thing to say, which brings me to my next point.
No, I feel like I'm being silenced now. Power to the people. No, go ahead.
Well, you
We'll
did
save this for
just
another
drop
time.
a whole bunch of.
No, but we'll save it for another time. Me personally, it might just be a generational thing. I mean,
That's what I was
know,
thinking
maybe
as
you
we were
said.
talking about it.
But to me, no one is going to call me that word and get away with it. That's something I will fight over. I'll take my cane and go to work on you.
He doesn't have his cane with him, so we're safe.
It's in the car.
Actually, quick question though, because I don't actually know.
And I don't allow my students they don't say it in my hearing.
Oh, I
because
wouldn't either.
They don't
Yeah.
understand what it means. I mean, there's a 300-year-long history that goes with it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Do you know when we started using nigga?
I was gonna actually
Like,
bring that
instead
up
of
in my
nigga?
next topic because I wanted
As long
to.
as white people been using it.
No, I mean like specifically to where we use it as a term of endearment, or try to at least. Do you know when that started? I want to say like the 80s, but I don't know.
I honestly don't know. I really can't say when the meaning started to change. I know there was some stuff in the feminist movement where they were using certain words for each other because the argument was that if we appropriate these terms and redefine them, then we take away their power. I have never believed that was a compelling argument.
Yeah.
I believe words mean what they mean, and if you take something that was applied to you hatefully, all you're doing is smacking yourself with hate.
I mean, yeah, that's why that white teacher who used it? He said the exact same thing. His argument was literally, they say it all the time. Why can't I say it? So the word still has power, apparently.
So you can't be stupid.
That's a lie.
But I just wanted to really quickly bring up, like, we talked about sports. I hope everybody enjoyed that sports section because we're
Go local sports
not gonna
team.
talk about.
You can say Ravens, man.
I'm not a Ravens fan.
That is disgraceful. How can you not root for the home team?
Because one, that's the Orioles and they suck. Two, Ravens also suck. Next question.
Moving on.
If they lose tomorrow, I'll give you that. But if they win, you're gonna have to change.
I'll get some Ravens gear.
Way to
There you
date.
go.
That's a publicity stunt. I'm not actually gonna get Ravens gear. I'm
Wait,
just saying that
You
on the
still
air.
have your hat from the band?
Way to date the podcast, guys. Jeez.
You say it'd be natural.
So I do want to bring up another thing in the time we have.
Okay, go ahead.
Wait, never mind. Keep on.
So we mentioned that the N word has kind of morphed into all these different meanings.
Yeah.
And we were talking about entertainment, believe it or not. We kind of
Wow.
we took a left at football and just kind of kept going. Just shot right out.
Well, three lefts make a right. So
Yep. So now we're back.
We'll get there eventually. Yeah.
Let's talk about hip hop and rap
Unscripted
culture.
realism, people. Go ahead.
Let's talk about hip hop and rap culture real fast.
Garbage
Wow.
has little value.
You know you're part of the hip hop generation.
Yeah,
Right?
I think hip hop and rap has little value, little positive value on most culture.
Well, I think that hip hop and rap culture have kind of, in the eyes of other people, become synonymous with black culture.
That's fine. It's literally poison.
Because, I mean, I agree with you. But it seems like it preaches a lot of the values that we've talked about that have been twisted in black
Yeah,
culture.
the negative ones that are bad.
It's like, hey,
In case you weren't sure.
hustle, hard work, rise and grind, but only for me. Or illegally.
No, because what I say, like, look, I'm not gonna say that like every hip hop rap song is like bad.
Yeah, Common was a person.
I mean,
He raps happy.
him aside,
Will Smith.
like I will say that there are a handful, a decent chunk of songs and artists that aren't inherently negative. But taken as a whole, I don't really think it's like getting blood from a rock. That's how it goes, right?
Turner.
What? Anyway, they don't
I
bleed.
mean, they're two different expressions. Yours is one, turnip is another
Okay,
one,
yeah.
but probably
But-
turnip is less.
I think that you'd be hard pressed to find something overall positive about hip hop culture, because even if you take a value where it's like, yeah, hip hop is like, yeah, man, it's like your self expression, it's all you. What does that look like in hip hop?
Is it self-expression if somebody else writes it for you to perform?
Well, that's not everyone. What I mean is like that. I think in terms of expressing yourself, and that's the most positive thing you could possibly get out of hip hop. And the way that it looks in hip hop is not great.
Well, I got a couple.
At least
of
nowadays.
questions. I got a couple questions. The first question
Yes.
I would ask is, does what I hear, and I'm no expert, but does what I hear on the radio mean that the only thing we have as a people to express is a desire to have sex, the fact that we live in poor neighborhoods, and what it was like to be a drug dealer or a gangbanger? Because that's pretty much all I hear. I mean, there has to be more to us to express than just those things, right? And that's pretty much all I hear.
We go to parties.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like debauchery, hedonistic. That's the word I was thinking of.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's very hedonistic.
Yeah,
Get what you can get while you can get it, and if you don't live long enough to enjoy it, oh well, too bad.
got what you got.
As a matter of fact, I would take it one step further. Not just hedonism, but nihilism.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Um.
Would you like to define nihilism for those who are watching who may not know what it means?
God, let me see.
It's. I'm gonna
Comes
try
from
my
the
best.
Latin root nihil.
Yeah.
N-I-H-I-L.
Think of it as just a sort of lifestyle where quote unquote nothing matters. So to the point where getting satisfaction now
By any means.
necessary, basically. I don't think it's that bad.
It kind of is.
Nihilism that leads to some crazy stuff, like more self-destructive than just being an alcoholic.
I would say
It'd be like
So what? But what?
Alcohol
the way I would
poisoning
de-
every
the way I
day.
would define it is that since everything is being destroyed, it's okay if I destroy.
that's a much better way. To
or I was going to
explain
say
it,
it's
yeah.
nihilistic in that it's okay if you have fun and enjoy everything and get rich and have sex, but it doesn't matter if it comes at the detriment of other people. Or
That's
your
pretty
community.
accurate. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either one of those work. But my thing is, I'm actually old enough to remember when rap became popular. I remember when it was just a thing that somebody did in a quote R&B song back in the early to mid 70s. There'd just be this breakdown and some guy would say something, he would stop singing and speak. But I remember Sugar Hill Gang, and I remember Rapper's Delight and those kinds of things.
Wow, I don't know any of those things.
And I remember when it started to turn. It started to turn. There was this song, Roxanne, and then there was this other one that came out, Roxanne's Revenge. And the next thing you knew, it was all about the rap battle. And the rap battle became this thing where
Trying to diss each other.
I'm trying to diss you and you trying to diss me, and whichever one of us disses the other one best in rhyme wins.
Funny thing, real quick. If you are not familiar with the song Roxanne, there is actually a Netflix biopic on the person that made it.
They have too much money.
It actually was pretty good.
I mean, probably. Doesn't mean it needs to exist.
But
That was mean.
so it turned, and then it's funny to me to see guys like Ice Cube making. He makes a movie.
We talked about him last week too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
We did. He's one of the few positive black role models.
And that's the thing that kills me.
He is now.
Because here's a guy who 25 years ago was singing "F the police."
I literally said those words.
And now he's making movies in which I don't want my kid to be following no gang. Dude, you glorified that culture for a decade until your best friend died from AIDS because he was out there living that life y'all were singing about.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna turn around and tell me, no, don't do that.
Now, to be fair to him, people can grow, people can change.
They can. You're right.
It would have been
He had
nice.
to be like, I have to relent. You are correct.
It would have been nice if he had grown and made that change before his friend died. Right?
Well, it would have been better if his friend had grown and made that change before his friend died.
I mean, literally, yes, but here we are.
That's kind of mean. You
and to
understand
be
what I mean.
fair, he did make that
it's
change, 20 years ago?
But see, that's that hedonism that you were talking about. But the result of it is, and I mean, come on, man, my generation. Look, we got Grace Slick, Elvis Presley, my goodness, Prince, Michael
Oh, okay.
Jackson.
Yeah, okay.
Got and in
Stevie
some
Wonder was there.
cases, it starts Teddy Pendergrass. Nobody mentions him anymore. But
Solid pick.
what's the guy's name from the Temptations? The one that destroyed his career.
I wouldn't know. That was before my time.
But
I mean, I could Google it, but
my
yeah.
point is, so and you know, people like Sam Cooke got themselves in trouble just having pleasure, getting whatever they could get, and there's this long history of how indulging yourself destroys you sooner or later. So at some point, we were talking earlier about this sort of absence of values.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that we have to endorse everything that the larger society endorses, but I'm saying that there are certain basic things that you just need to accept because if you don't, you're going to destroy yourself.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I can't really
I don't
comment
understand.
on that.
I
because
don't
you already
understand.
said it.
Correct. I agree.
Yes.
I don't understand why we can't agree on don't steal, don't lie,
Don't
treat
kill
others
people.
treat others the way you want to be treated, and don't kill.
Like it's fine until you hit the last two or the second to last one. I think.
But he
Treat-
stepped
treat
on my
others the way
Jordans,
you
yo.
want to be treated.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
because
nah,
the
we
issue
can't.
is we all recognize stealing is bad because when someone steals from me, I hate it.
Yeah.
Right. But
You'd be surprised what some of my students tell me because whenever I'm dealing with kids, I always try to put them in the other person's shoes. Well, so I ask the question, how would you feel if somebody did that to you? You know, I've had kids look at me and tell me that, well, I'd just be okay with it because that's how it is. I hope that's not true.
yeah, it seems like a lie.
It does seem like a lie, and yet
'Cause
they
that's-
will not relent.
Because that's what I would say when I didn't want to accept that I'd done something wrong.
Yeah.
Which I guess it's weird that the fact that I have to ask, they could not be lying. They could be true.
And that's the thing. It could be true, and sometimes I think it really is. I think they really mean it.
But I mean, the
And
question
that's
there is
tragic.
like, have you ever thought about changing how it is?
Well, that's difficult for a child.
Is it?
Yeah, because you're asking to change how it is.
Look, all you got to do to change how it is like stop your friend from doing it.
I know that. You know that. But I don't think kids can just be like, yeah, I can change reality. No problem. Yeah.
But we have that conversation. But the thing is, before I can stop my friend, I have to stop myself.
That's true,
I'm just trying to get so Jimmy is over there on this other side of the table, and I'm asking him why he stole, and he's telling me because that's what I know, and I'm like, well, how would you feel if somebody stole what was yours? I'd just be okay because that's just how it is. And my thing is, I really think they think that's just how it is.
I mean, I would argue
And it
that
never occurs to them that it would be different if you just didn't do that.
So then the question is, like, there's a difference between accepting how it is versus feeling okay with how it is.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, now I'm thinking about it, I think that's where the lie is. Right?
I can't.
Because you can say that's how it is and think that's
Yeah.
true. But then you saying, I'm okay with someone doing that to me because that's how it is. I think that's the part where they're lying. Like, they're afraid to say, I don't like that. Because they don't think there's anything they can do.
What's wrong with you that you would be afraid to say,
I guess that's a different
I
issue.
don't
yeah.
want people to take what's mine?
That's a different issue. Yeah, that's true.
Something is wrong there.
Yeah.
And that's why I said that there's this values issue.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I forgot what we were talking about.
we were
Yeah,
talking
what?
about entertainment. And actually, I was going to bring up.
I was like,
I was going to bring
we
up.
were talking
I
about something
think
else.
a lot of people treat it as a thing that just happens, and I think entertainment reinforces it. Like one of the questions I was going to ask. One of the questions I was going to ask was, do you think entertainment influences culture, or do you think it is a reflection of culture?
I think it's both.
Yeah, I feel like we've answered that question. I think it's both.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking of is if you look at popular black movies from the 90s, why is it that Belly and Baby Boy are on that list? Are you familiar with those
I've
films?
seen Baby Boy. I have not seen Baby.
Belly is a horrible 2-hour-long rap video.
Wow, way to poison the well, dude.
I mean, it's true though. With DMX and Nas.
What? Oh!
Just some brief highlights from the movie Belly.
That's my DMX impression.
At one point, DMX tells Nas that, quote, it's gay to read a book.
Oh, that's that movie?
Yeah, it's that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, you're gay because you read books.
You know what Chris Rock said?
Probably.
He said, if you want to hide something from that word we were talking about,
I don't want to say it again.
hide it in a book because books is like kryptonite to a.
I'm not gonna say it again.
Well, apparently reading makes you homosexual, according to DMX's
But
character
see,
in that
that's
movie.
what I'm talking about. How did we get there?
It's actually a good question.
When
Yeah,
I grew up, my dad was a guy who, because he lived in the segregated South, where black people could not get decent jobs and were really relegated to the farm. He had to quit school in the third grade to help the family
Not die.
literally not die.
Yeah. So then what happens in between?
So for me, it was not a question of should I go to school?
Yes.
Should I do well in school?
What
Yes.
time you getting up?
Should I go to college? It was a question of what was going to happen to me that would be terrible and fatal if I did not. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I guess the question is then what happened in between? Because
know.
because even then I'm not sure. I don't know how other people think about education and stuff now. Because it's just, to me, it's a given that it's important. I know we're leaning toward like college isn't as important now because, you know, job markets and stuff, but whatever.
I don't have a problem with vocational school. I just have a problem with you don't have an education.
Yeah.
I have a problem with you can't sign your name.
Yeah, so I'm saying like what happened in the interim, right? Because I know when I was a kid, that wasn't even a question either, right? Which means that when DMX is or whoever is making these movies, when they were children, something in the culture is saying that that's not important or that's not good or that's not valuable.
And the question is who?
Yeah, I'm saying I don't know. I wasn't there.
Somebody.
I haven't read anything about it.
mean,
Well,
Baby
I guess
Boy-
I wouldn't read anything about
But,
it.
I mean, to go back to the movies real quick, Baby Boy is not much better. He
Is that another
wakes up.
DMX movie?
No, no. This one has what's his name? He's the only actual black dude in the Fast and the Furious.
Oh, Tyrese.
Tyrese, yes. Fun story.
What's his last name?
East.
I don't know.
Okay.
Fun trivia fact. I think Baby Boy came out in like 99 or 2000, 2001, somewhere in there.
What? My mouth
funny
is
story.
in the microphone.
It was after,
Funny story.
um,
It was actually supposed to be a
Boys
movie
in
for
the Hood.
Tupac, but Tupac died.
Yo, he's Tupac's understudy.
He actually is Tupac's second choice, or whoever directed that
He
second
probably
choice.
feels some kind of way about that.
But yeah, that movie's not much better. That movie features, well, actually, while we're here, Tyler Perry movies also feature this, but it features plenty of domestic abuse / domestic sexual assault.
Well, there's nothing wrong with using that as a storytelling.
I mean, I'd argue there is. If your movie is predominantly black and you peddle your movie as a black movie, you probably should steer clear of black stereotypes.
But that's the
that's the
that goes
imitation.
back to the question. Is it to me? It's a chicken egg thing. It's more like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So one generation produces a version of life which they show in their art, and the next generation sees the art and imitates it. And so it kind of goes in, I don't know if you want to cycle or spiral or whatever,
A wave.
but it's a little bit of art influencing life, and it's a little bit of life influencing art. So you get both these things. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is where's the good stuff in our art? See, when I grew up, when I was coming of age in my teens, I hate to say it, given what has happened since then, but
Oh, I know what you're gonna say, or who you're gonna say.
I could turn on the TV every Thursday night, and there was a doctor and a lawyer in a nuclear family, not even a nuclear family, an extended family.
Yeah.
And,
Too bad
and
that
folks
guy-
were able to get along and deal with problems. I know you're going to talk about what he was doing off screen, but my point is that it was important for me to see that on screen as an image.
No, I mean, it's
Now,
the
I'm gonna
show is what it is.
The show is
aside
what it is.
from
I
the
don't want to talk
person.
about him. I just want to talk about the show because the images matter. So before that, do you know who the first black woman to have her own TV show was? Her own primetime television series. It was Diane Carroll.
I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say
The show
that.
the show was called Julia. The premise of
I've heard of that show.
The premise of the show was she was a nurse and a single mother raising her son. I think her son was played by Rodney Allen Rigby.
Yep, I know who that is.
Whoever that is.
I definitely know that actor's name.
Google's a
Yeah,
thing, kids.
But listen, so in the 60s, that's as far back as I can go. In the 60s, we had Bill Cosby on I Spy, and we had Julia. In the 70s, we go from a spy and a nurse, a widowed nurse, raising her own children to the Jeffersons and Good Times. Jeffersons.
Aren't you glad we got him?
Wow.
So we
outta here.
got a family that can't get out of the projects, and we've got a bigot who manages to make it as a successful businessman, but still is somehow perceived as a clown. But in the 80s, we get Cosby. Now, I'm not even going to talk about the fact that it's only 2 shows in the 60s, 2 shows in the 70s, and 1 in the 80s. But we get
TVs are expensive.
that show where there's a doctor and a lawyer, and they are second generation professionals, and they are raising their family in a nice house, and they're talking about values like self-respect and financial responsibility and sexual purity and
Going to college.
maintaining relationships, older generations with younger generations. Man, can you? I mean, what is it like to see that? And then you get a different world where their children grow up and go to college.
Yeah, different world is pretty.
You get
Pretty
what I'm
popular.
saying? So that image is very different from some of the earlier images. And before that, what we got in movies, black cinema was essentially non-existent. In most places, especially in the South, you couldn't get to a theater to see many of the movies that were made, and there weren't that many that starred us. But other than that, Tarzan was beating the crap out of us.
Were they? Oh, they were savages in the jungle. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Had to think about it, 'cause I
It's
forgot.
that kind of stuff. Or Amos and Andy and Aunt Jemima and Step and Fetch It and all those guys.
Okay, wait. Aunt Jemima is not just a.
No, that
not
was
just a
based
short-
off a person.
Yeah,
Really?
It's really a shame because Aunt Jemima
Why would they keep
syrup's
the name? I
really
guess it's
good.
because nobody knows.
because people buy it.
And because it's tasty. Sorry.
It's a real dang good syrup right there.
It's pretty good.
Now, am I a racist because I prefer Mrs. Butterworth's?
Oh, she's Caucasian. Dad.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There's no spices in that.
I can't.
It's bland syrup.
But my point is that.
So then what happened in the 90s, though?
But as the images changed, we have something to aspire to.
Mm-hmm.
So those, I'm not saying anything bad about those folks. Step and Fetch It, he wasn't my role model, but at least he was a black man working. You get what I'm saying?
See, I feel like that attitude's different now because Step and Fetch remind me of Diamond and Silk now.
Okay, I don't know who they are.
Oh,
those are
women?
two black women stumping for Trump.
There's nothing wrong with
Oh,
that.
that's
They can if they
sad.
want to.
Nah, but he said at least they're black people working. But
Oh, I mean, they can exercise the political.
we have
So,
enough
but-
black
but-
people working now that
but
we
so
can
look.
dismiss them.
But so here's the thing:
They didn't do anything wrong.
He's a guy, and you say, "Well, I don't like what he's doing, but he's working. Maybe I can go work and do something different or better."
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a sense where art can inspire us and move us in a certain direction, but there's a sense where you keep hearing and seeing the same things and the same images over and over and over again, and it just confirms to you that that's all you ever will be. And I think that's the problem with hip hop now. I don't see, and granted, I'm no expert, but I don't see or hear many positive images coming out of that. It's all about either enjoying criminality or escaping criminality or hating somebody or using somebody, often women, or partying. And I'm not saying that those aren't themes in other genres of music, but in other genres of music, you also have a competing narrative. I don't see a competing narrative in hip hop. It's just the one, to me, seemingly one voice saying the same things. At some point, art is not supposed to just reflect reality. It's supposed to inspire you. It's supposed to be relative and normal. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about genres of music now. Like country music aside, because that I suppose that would be like aside from gospel, that's like the most positive you can possibly get in music, I suppose.
No, country music can be pretty.
Yeah,
all
but
over the
like
place.
it's got highs and lows. I think it's got higher
Exactly.
highs and decent lows. They're about the same, honestly.
But I think that's his point. Is like for almost everything else, there's highs and lows. It's like
well, I had to think about other genres of music.
here's a
and those two
like
came to mind.
even in pop music, as boring as pop music can be, it's like there's still like, nah, I really love this person. I want to spend my life with this person. Competing with like, nah, let's go party and pop drugs. Like
Okay,
there's still
that's
both
fair.
things.
Yeah.
Whereas hip hop is like, the love songs aren't really love songs. They're like
sex
sex
songs.
songs.
Sex songs, yes.
So it's like,
I think that's literally their purpose nowadays.
yeah.
I blame Prince.
But he was like talented. It doesn't matter. He was talented though.
But I think that's not just a thing specific to music. That's kind of
No, because
sports
I was thinking.
too.
Yeah, I was thinking more so like TV.
I mean, if you go to anything, like up until Barack Obama, I feel like most kids were like, I'm gonna be a basketball player. And then Barack and Michelle Obama came along, and it was like, oh, wait a minute.
Am I just weird that I never thought that?
No.
Or like the friends I hung out with never thought that?
You had different parents. Oh.
That's fine. Well, no, just because
Nah, you
isn't
just-
Obama like 5'10"?
No. He's like 6'3", dude.
He's like 4'6". What are you talking
Him
about?
and
I'm
Michelle
kidding,
are both
She's
like
really
6
tall.
something.
I thought she was taller than him. That's why I thought he was short, but
No.
that's fine.
She just wears heels.
She's
a
a
lot.
giant. That's okay.
But I mean, so
Like, there's not
he
very...
was smooth.
Like, this
Obama
is...
was smooth, man. Come on.
See, this is the same thing people said about Bill Clinton. I would know because I was born in 1992, right? But like, oh, he's really cool.
Yeah, he was cool until he had sex with Monica Lewinsky.
No, he didn't have sex.
Nah, he
got
didn't
it.
have
Not
sexual
have sex.
relations.
He had.
And sticking the relations on it is what he says saved him. But I mean, come on.
Yeah, because that implies that it happened multiple times.
Yeah.
Oh, he said put an S. Whatever.
Relations.
Clown.
Anyway, though,
Bill Clinton's a clown. I said it.
nah, but this goes back to, again, what we talked about on the last episode.
You just check that out, guys. It's really good.
Yeah, I was solid.
So where is
But-
the Barack Obama of hip hop?
But that's what I was going to ask, because we mentioned this. Who is a positive, like, outside of Will Smith,
Not even him. He's insane.
who is the positive black role model for people to look at? Because you got to keep in mind,
Bill Cosby's gone.
people out here pulling up tweets from 10 years ago. So,
Yeah, but not Ice Cubes because F the Police is a popular narrative.
well, that was before the internet, so it's fine.
Oh, that's true. Well, we have his music though.
I
And
mean, we
whatever.
do.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, that is a popular narrative now, so it doesn't matter.
So,
yeah.
But so at some point, I mean, I keep coming back to this thing. Art has to reflect reality, and so in that sense, there's nothing necessarily wrong with recording your reality as music. But art is also supposed to be normative. It's not just what is; it's also what can or ought to be. And I just don't see that. I don't see that. Now, and y'all, because you all are younger than I am, I don't see in hip hop what ought. I don't see any. I don't hear any lyrics about economic empowerment other than get rich or die trying.
Well, look, getting rich is important.
But
shouldn't we wanna get wealthy?
But even getting rich is not economic empowerment. Economic empowerment is
Generational wealth.
generational wealth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wealth that it has, like, can increase.
And
Yeah,
so, but
that thing we complain about white people
But
having.
here's my problem: if you're not singing about family,
Oh,
it doesn't matter if you understand what generational wealth is, because
You have no generation
you have
to
no
pass
generation
it
to
to.
pass it on to. You got children scattered all over creation.
That's a good point.
And you cannot be a parent to somebody that you, and I know this from experience, you cannot be an effective parent to somebody you are not with on a regular basis.
Is there a positive influence, though?
Probably. But maybe it's just that the negative ones are so loud and plentiful that it's hard to be like, check out this guy. Like, I mean, I can guarantee there's at least.
So why don't you ask your guests?
I was literally about to
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
look at this guest over here trying to host the show. Jeez.
What
I'll
that's
say
what we
is,
flew him out from down the street for, though.
whenever we post this, wherever we post this, so on YouTube, probably Facebook, wherever you see
Twitter,
it.
because that works now.
Oh, I guess we can put it on Twitter. Wherever you see this, just
Instant Tubblegram.
and if you got this far, I hope you did. It's been a minute, but just leave a comment and just like maybe rattle off a list if you got it of positive black role models. And I mean like actual positive ones. I don't need any of this like, well, he did this, but what about this? I'm just as positive as you can get them. All right, I don't need any of this, you know, Al Sharpton crap.
Oh, let's not do that. Let's not go there.
I couldn't. He was the first one that came to mind.
I wouldn't. Maybe Al Sharpton is not quite a writer. To my mind,
Well, that's why I said crap.
I remember when Al was on the Phil Donahue show, ranting about Tawana Brawley and saying things that turned out not to be true. But
Oh, you mean like now?
I mean, yeah, that's because this is the issue. Hang on, real quick. This is the issue with a lot of black political leaders
Pundits.
who aren't like Michael Steele, because I don't know what he does now.
Actually, he's very much against where the
They're
Republican
race
Party
baiters,
is going.
and
he's
it's
a
like
permanent guest on CNN.
he just lives there.
Yeah.
He just lives under the desk, and occasionally, like, oh hey guys.
Looking like the Blue Muppet from
Oh,
Sesame
look,
Street.
Michael Steele is here. Come on out, Mike.
Well, I'm saying is like I don't really like the term, but they're race baiters to the point where they take a racial issue, whether it's real or not, and they blow it out of proportion, or they make it worse than it is, or it's not a good way to explain it, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly.
They
what you
inject
mean.
it into a situation.
I think,
Thank you. That's what I'm
I
trying to
think
say.
there was a time when I agreed with that assessment of Al, but I don't anymore.
Oh, I just think he's a shyster now. So
A shiesty person.
no, a shyster,
I think
a person who shysts.
Maybe he has a tendency toward bombast, but
That's okay.
I think that what he sees himself doing is stirring people up about things that are important. And most of what I hear him, I mean, I don't see him much, but most of what I hear him talking about now, I think he's on the right side of issues, even if he is sometimes overblown in the way he presents them.
I find him so. Even if I agree that he is on the right side, I just find him so.
Hard.
What's
to
the
listen
opposite
to.
of help? I find him so anti-helpful.
Anti-helpful.
I don't know that it's destructive. I shouldn't say destructive because it's not destroying. It's just not helpful.
Well,
Counterintuitive.
The thing is, so you need to keep your emotions under check.
Me or him? Well, yes.
Yes.
But
Let me rephrase. If we are going to affect the change we need in our society, we have to keep our emotions in check.
But hip hop and art
to a
tell us not
certain-
to.
To a certain extent, I think maybe sometimes the way he presents issues, in his desire to get people excited enough to move, may actually end up pushing them past the point of reason, so that they become emotional instead of galvanized.
I think this brings me to a point of someone else that is a pundit on television, or was. I think he got fired. I think his name is Mark Lamont Hill. Are you familiar with him?
I am.
Is he the guy that did the Israel speech?
Yes.
Okay, I know you're talking about.
And because this will go into, I think, what you're going to talk about next.
Because he was saying like Palestine should be its own.
Yeah, but the way he says it is to be kind of anti-Semitic, sort of.
Oh, the way he said it from sea to sea or whatever,
Which
sea
is
to
a
hill.
slogan of, pretend I didn't say it because I don't remember.
A slogan of feudalism.
Nice.
Wow, of manifest destiny.
There you go.
Nice. Anyway, but he recently was, I should say recently, it's been like a month, I think, but he was removed from, I think, CNN.
Yeah, he got
or
fired.
MSNBC. One of the two.
Almost got fired from his tenured position as a professor
Yeah.
at Temple University.
But it's one of the things I noticed about him when you just like read about him is he's like relatively close to, oh no, it's happening. I'm getting old. I forgot his name.
Welcome to
It's not Elijah Muhammad. It's
Reverend Louis Farrakhan.
yeah. Thank you.
The Honorable Reverend
That
Louis
was scary,
Decepticon.
guys. I legit couldn't remember his name.
Did you just call him Louis Decepticon?
I don't
It's
know what
about
you're
right.
talking about.
That's about right. It's in the name. He doesn't make any sense. But who's also anti-Semitic and is vocally anti-Semitic. And it's
Probably why he got chopped from CNN.
Yeah, but when people asked Lamont Hill about it, he's like, he didn't what's the word? He caped for him. I think you said that before, and it's something that I've seen happen a lot because I think what will happen is there's going to be someone who somewhere, whether they write it in a comment or not, but they're gonna get really defensive about the things we're talking about because black people, that's not fair. You can't do this about black people. They're struggling.
So look.
You know what I mean? They'll make excuses and try to defend the bad behavior instead of calling out the bad behavior.
I want to do a thing real quick.
Do a thing.
You
man.
ready for the
I'm
thing?
with you.
We're gonna
tickets. I'm on the
circle
train.
it all the way back
I'm on the train.
to the very first thing we talked about
Round
an hour
trip?
and a half ago.
Round trip. Okay.
Isn't that kind of being a victim?
Got him. Wait. Sorta. Yeah, my explanation is.
I'm just
but
saying,
that was just an example of the explanation. They gave.
Like, if you're listening to us have this conversation and your immediate reaction is to be defensive or say that, like, no, I don't participate in that. No, I don't do this. No, this isn't true. That's not what hip hop is. That's not what this is. You're kind of being a little bit of a victim here instead of just like analyzing what we're saying and seeing if it's true for yourself.
Yeah, and then get defensive if we're wrong.
Right.
No, if we're wrong, you just basically ignore us.
Or leave a comment. That would be better.
Yeah, actually tell us we're wrong.
Tell
I
us
would
we're
I
wrong
would
to
like
our
to I would
faces.
like to not be wrong. Wait, I would like to be wrong. Excuse me.
Okay, that's fair.
'Cause-
But that's not how
About
debate,
this
but
at
that's not how any debate goes in this country anymore. You're either with me or I have to kill you.
Only the Sith deal in
Well,
absolutes.
first of all, are hip hop artists Sith? Because that's what they told me to do.
Ah, crap.
I'm sorry, that one was over my head.
I mean, we were just talking about how in hip hop it's like, nah, you don't rep my city. You from a different city. I have to kill you because you disagree with my city.
But that's why we can't get anywhere. That's why our government is paralyzed. Let's be honest, that's why Trump is president.
Okay.
Because the first problem is government officials, especially at the federal level, are completely out of touch with people. And then when we try to talk to each other, or when they try to talk to each other, it can't be a thing where your point may have some validity. Let me go home and think on it honestly and come back. And if changes need to be made, make those changes in myself so that we can meet somewhere and get something done.
No, I have to destroy you now because my side is right.
But that's not it. So
It's not helpful.
I operate from primarily a utilitarian perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Things need to get done.
Yeah.
How are we going to get those things done if we can't even agree to disagree? If we can't agree to look at places where we can meet and work together? I mean,
Well, I think because the issue is when we say agree to disagree, one, you have to acknowledge that the other person has at least a semi-valid point.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, at least we'll do with the Trump in general, it's like either you're with me or you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a sexist, you're whatever. Which, sure, that's probably true for a lot of people. Like, I'm not going to pretend Trump is like a epitome of any sort of moral anything. Maybe, what's the opposite of epitome?
I don't know, dirtbag.
Sure. We'll go with that. But to say that anyone who doesn't support Hillary is
The same as Trump.
equal to like every worst thing Donald Trump is, that you can't do that. And all that did was drive people toward Donald Trump because
And that's my
you know.
point. So if I'm being realistic, if I'm being practical, she can't be trusted and neither can he. Let's find somebody else.
correct.
But
For that to happen,
Yeah.
for that to happen, people would have had to pay attention way back in June when the primaries were going on. And who wants to do that?
Yeah, like Trump was so mean to everybody.
Because how many
Such a jerk.
How many Republican and Democratic candidates were there during the primaries? There were like 13.
22.
It's like 22 between both parties.
22 Republicans.
Oh, there were 22 Republicans, but there were like
He
what?
whittled them down.
But
Yeah,
there were
plus-
like 4 Democrats.
And like Hillary,
Yeah.
didn't she actually cheat? Like
No.
actually, isn't that true?
No.
Didn't the DNC actually like?
I don't remember if she did it or
like-
if someone did it for her.
Well, I should say, didn't the DNC
leaked
act in her
email
favor?
Said that the DNC acted in her favor to ensure that she got super delegates she may not have been entitled to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think it said
Why are
that
we voting?
some of those super delegates
Yeah.
wanted to change, but they
different
weren't
pod.
allowed.
Also, the concept of super delegates is so stupid.
That's a different podcast.
Yes, it is. Anyway, you were going somewhere completely different, and we took it to a different place.
No, I'm glad we did because that's important.
we hijacked that bus.
Because you
Bad choice of
see,
words.
you see what happens when you just assume you are the victim. You end up with Trump's in power. Because the problem with
Well, if you're a victim, then someone
well,
has to be
here's
your oppressor.
here's the thing. Here's the problem with assumed victimhood, especially as it concerns the black community, is that when we assume victimhood, when we assumed, oh, we're to his point, we're oppressed, so why bother fighting it? When that happens in real life, it's not like a sports game where, we're taking our ball, we're going home because this is ridiculous. The rules are against me. So the game can't go on because there's nobody here. No, that doesn't happen in real life. What actually happens is you take your ball and go home and everyone continues doing what they were doing. And so while we were, our votes don't really count, guys. It's rigged against us. Black people voting doesn't matter. It's already set up to whoever wants to win is going to win. Trump won. And now here we are.
Which, honestly, all evidence is to the contrary that he should not have won.
Right.
It seemed like everything was rigged in the opposite direction.
But the popular,
Which is
he
true.
lost the popular vote. By the time the final count was done, he lost the popular vote by nearly 4 million.
All illegal.
Yeah. Last time I
All
checked, that was all
illegal.
Mexicans,
But
so it's okay.
but here's what he did do. He went to certain states that have a majority population that he could tap into.
Yeah.
What am I talking about?
I don't
Mostly
know.
white,
Yeah.
mostly rural.
Yep.
Mostly uneducated as far as
I mean,
college.
see, and I'm not going to say
not- yeah, I wouldn't say
uneducated.
that
I'm
either.
going to say not college educated because
Yeah.
there's a difference.
I said as far as college.
Well,
So-
the way you say it, though, you make it sound like you're stupid. They're
Yeah,
not
so-
stupid, they just don't go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the point. These people are not stupid. They were willing to put faith in him in spite of everything they heard and saw.
I would argue. You can't. Those
See,
two
see,
statements
but-
don't
but
fit.
Yeah,
though.
they do.
They do.
Listen
I mean, they
to- Let
literally
me
do.
finish. They were willing to put faith in him in spite of everything they heard and saw, because that's how little faith they had in what they had already seen.
Yeah.
If we don't fix that, not only will he get reelected, but worse than him will get elected.
Yeah.
So at some point, we come back to this issue of political literacy.
That's like another
How
circle.
do
We
you-
just did it twice.
How do I affect real change? And part of that has to be not just changing the political structure or the people in the political structure, but it has to be we gotta get to know each other again. When King did what he did, part of his goal was to draw people in who were on the fence. Who were most of those people? They were white folks. They were not us. We already knew what we were dealing with. But he understood that if you couldn't get people who were on the fence to come in, the movement was going to die. And so that's what he did. How many white people do I know? I try to be nice to every white person. I know that sounded incredibly racist.
Yeah, I was.
I know it did. But my point is this:
You got like a black beret on?
not just white, black, conservative, liberal, young, old. I mean, seriously, we live in a country where young people and old people do not really communicate. This is weird.
I mean, I
What
guess.
we had. No, I'm telling you from personal experience, this is weird, and I'm speaking anecdotally, but I'm willing to bet if we compile some statistics or if we did some research, this is weird. Where you have people separated by a generation or more, and we are, because I got almost 30 on you and more than 25 on you, right?
Yeah.
So where we have
Very
people
close to 30.
separated by more than a generation, there really is no communication. And I think it's one of the reasons why our country is in the condition it's in. Old people know stuff, but young people know stuff too. The question is, why do old people so often disrespect what young people know? And why do young people so often disrespect what old people know? Somewhere in the middle of all that is a place where we can make stuff work.
Middle-aged people.
Well, well, see, because as far as the generational thing goes, I think because it's something I've noticed when looking at social media, is I can see where an older person will be dissatisfied with the attitude of younger folks.
Oh wow, yes.
If you look at
Especially
social
on
media,
social media.
it consists of so much complaining and like seeking validation from everyone else that it's annoying in like 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. Like you go 30 seconds, you look at it where it's just like someone's complaining about
Would you
something.
like to
that's-
try it?
No,
Give it a shot,
no,
man.
thank you.
And I think that's where a lot of the social movements now are coming from, and we're like, think about it, right? I understand fighting for civil rights, like, you know, gay marriage. Say what you want about it. I understand the desire to fight for that right, right? I get it. It makes sense, right? To be recognized under the law, being equal to a straight person. It makes sense. I understand. Say what you want about it. But when you fight for a law to make people call you something that isn't, you know, like your name, but just a pronoun, like when you fight for that to an older person where they would just be like, well, that's dumb. You know, they're not insulting you. They're just, they wouldn't see it as a civil right. They would see it as you want to be validated for a choice that you don't know if you should have made.
So
I think that's the difference. For a lot
I
of
kind of
things.
I kind of agree with you. We're what
Yeah, the explanation wasn't great.
the principle. No, I kind of get what you're saying, but the principle has always been, even in the days of segregation, and one of the reasons why those laws were struck down is we've kind of understood that my rights end where yours begin. And so you have a right to. I'm fairly conservative. I don't want to align myself with groups that support things I don't support. But I'm a Christian and I'm conservative, fairly conservative. At the same time, if while I might be opposed on religious grounds to a homosexual lifestyle, that's what I'm going to call it. I recognize that we live in a country where people are supposed to be free to do what they want as long as it doesn't harm anyone else.
Right.
So if you say to me, I would have voted for civil union, that was the thing that was essentially legal, but not necessarily religious validation, I would have voted for that. So that if a gay couple, if one member of that couple is sick, their partner should have legal rights to go in and visit, to make life and death decisions, to take care of treatment, to get insurance, to receive benefits, to do all of that stuff. That's a human right. I don't have a problem with that. But you cannot come to me and say, you, as a member of the clergy, must marry me, even if that violates your religious conscience. Because now your rights are stepping on mine. I have the right to freely express my religious value. Now, where is the boundary between us?
Yeah.
The boundary used to be, you do what you want to do, but don't try to force me to go along with it.
Because there's a preacher somewhere.
And I'll do what I want to do, but I won't try to stop you from doing what you have the right to do. Everybody trying to run over everybody. And you can't do that. And I've never understood. See, to me, one of the problems we have is...
We'll grind your gears, Dad.
I'm getting ready to go in a different direction maybe than y'all wanted to go. But one of the problems we have is... I don't believe any person, any so-called Christian who bombed an abortion clinic or threw red stuff on doctors who performed abortion.
Or protest the burial of a homosexual soldier outside the cemetery?
Come on, man. You got to be crazy. That is not Christ-like.
Yeah, okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's not where I thought you were going, but I agree.
No, but
I agree.
I'm saying that stuff is not Christ-like. And those people were wrong. But to say that within a particular sanctuary, there are certain things we will do and certain things we will not do, I don't think the government has the right to intrude on that. So, yes, you can get married if you want to. Have a good time. I hope God blesses you. But you can't make me perform the ceremony. When did we get to this thing where it has to be my way or no way? And that's why we can't get anywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
The internet.
No. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of a specific time. Because, like, recently you get the making a cake. That if that actually goes back to the Supreme Court for the issue that was actually at hand, as opposed to whatever legalese they tried to pull.
But this is what I'm saying. This is why I think part of it is the internet, because that case, the reason that the case went the way it did, has nothing to do with the fact that it was a gay couple.
It's just some legalese crap. They
Right. It was just like,
decide.
hey, we have to side with the cake maker because in this particular case, the law didn't give him enough leeway to make this decision and then still do right by the couple.
I don't know what they decided. I just know it wasn't actually about what people wanted it to be.
They never did rule on the issue, which was the
could he or could not
religious
refuse
freedom
service. Well,
nah, they
they
went with a loophole
of the
process
of the shop owner. They went with
a process thing.
You're saying legalese, like the city can't make this law.
But my thing is, the bottom line is this. Listen, I will make you any other kind of cake. I'll even make you a cake and you can take it home and decorate it whatever way you want to. I can't make this cake because in my mind, this is a bad thing. So to me, this is like you came and said to me, um, I would like you to make me a cake celebrating mass murder. Well, I know the two things aren't the same, but I disagree with mass murder, so I can't make you that
Yeah,
cake.
the cake maker's logic is the same.
And so the logic is the same. And if he says, but listen, you can go down the street and get you a mass murder cake from this baker, that baker, that baker, or that baker, I have no problem referring you to them. I kind of get that. Then the argument comes back. Well, what if you were discriminating against me because of my race? Well, but the thing is, that's not a religious tenet. That is not a tenet of Christianity.
Yeah,
So
so
what we're
there's no constitutional basis for that.
but so what we're having is an argument over fake religion, because in the real Bible, there is no scriptural prohibition against being black, or being foreign, or being what's the other word, an alien in a different country.
So I'm thinking this just now.
So there's no religious ground for me to do that on.
So I'm playing devil's advocate, maybe literally.
Hold up,
Okay.
because we don't have a ton of time.
Oh.
So I'm gonna need you to stow that devil's advocacy.
Put the devil's in my pocket, you guys. I'm storing the devil.
I have one more question for you guys, because I'm actually kind of glad this debate actually kind of works here, because it allows me to segue into our final question.
Okay.
We'll take about 5 minutes to do that. Emphasis on about 5 minutes. But like you mentioned earlier, that it's really interesting that we are of different generations, and we're still here talking about something. So do you think, because I know that this happens a lot, where younger people tend to view old people as a monolithic group, like all old people think and do this.
Yeah.
And it works the other
The
way
other
too.
way too.
Do you think that also applies to black people?
That was a real good one.
That's
Look, I was thinking about 3 minutes for that one. I had to stretch.
Is that what you were just silent over there? It's like, wow, how am I going to get to this next topic?
Well, let me go first so I can say what I got to say and get it over with. I think we are not, I'm sure we are not. I think it wouldn't hurt us to be a bit more.
See, that's funny.
Interesting.
I disagree. I feel like we really don't want to be, but we also really want to be.
Oh, we are of double-minded nature.
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh, that good for you. That's
Shout
a
out to
good.
Dan for that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we at least this is how I see it from a younger person's perspective. There is this drive for us to be black, and being black is like, we all listen to the same music. You gotta support black people who are in the spotlight. You gotta go to black businesses, even though we don't really like black businesses. And
They're
you gotta,
oft times dirty.
right, you gotta like act and talk a certain way too. Like you mentioned earlier, me and Steve, we have gone to mixed company schools for the majority of our lives. Honestly, throughout the course of my life, I've been called white or an Oreo by so many more black people than white people for doing a certain thing, liking a certain hobby, playing a certain sport, even because we played lacrosse.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Okay.
white people are just kind of like, yeah, I like those things too. For black people, it's like a crisis of identity, because I like to write and play Dungeons and Dragons and watch the anime and play lacrosse. Right.
That's fine.
We're actually not that far. I think where we need to be more monolithic is in terms of our approach to economics.
Well, the things that are the same.
The supporting of black businesses, the keeping of money, the setting up of charitable foundations and endowments, the kinds of things that would allow us to keep wealth in our communities and to pass it down to succeeding generations. I think we need to be more monolithic in that regard. I also think that we are too monolithic in terms of some of that other stuff you talked about.
Well, yeah, because it would just be, if you look at other groups, it's more so they're monolithic with the things that affect all of them. Because, duh.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes sense.
And we are the opposite. Like, we don't care about, we're monolithic with the stuff that's like, you gotta like this stuff that I like, otherwise you're not me. You're not like me, right? As opposed to like, you can like whatever you want, but when you go to the bank, make sure you don't take those take those easy loans, man. Like that kind of stuff. And I guess that's I don't know how we got that way either. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's just so backwards. It doesn't make any sense.
Now to bring this all the way back again, because all of this is connected.
That's a third round trip, friend.
And that's the truth.
Right.
It is all connected.
I think a lot of this, like the weirdness of what we're monolithic about, stems from events that have happened to us since our time in America. Like we're monolithic about cooking, because we've been forced to cook with all the same stuff.
Yeah, chitlins are still gross though.
I just want to know how hungry you had to be
to eat chitlins.
To say to your friend, "Hey Bob, look, let's grab them pig intestines over there and see what they taste like."
Well, squirt out the bile, then you eat them.
Yeah.
Do they make pre-clean chitlins?
Ew.
Can you get those?
Ew.
You can get those.
Okay, they're probably more
but you
expensive.
still better clean them.
That's gross.
I mean, just in case.
But I'm saying some guy somewhere in somebody's
look. We don't even gotta worry about it.
Go ahead,
kids. Just say no to chitlins.
Say no to chitlins. A PSA by Edwardson Podcast.
Yes, you're welcome for that. That was free. But like, I think some
Brought
of that
to you by the Society for Anti-Chitlins.
some of that comes from slavery. Some of that comes from like the civil rights movement, stuff like over time. I think we've become monolithic about things like that because of what we had.
Just real quick, I think that that's true of most races, except white people, ironically, because they all have a shared minority groups. I'll just say it that way. They all have a tight history, and that's literally what brings them together. So, like, literally true. The monolith is like, hey, we were all slaves at one point, probably, not really, but you get what I mean, right? It's like, oh, hey, we were all immigrants from wherever we're from. Okay. Hey, we all came over on a boat. Yep, that's true.
But yeah, we might actually have to continue this because there's still maybe we might bring it back.
I would like to. We missed something in the first part that I think is relevant to what we're talking about now.
Yeah, we did. Probably.
Which is the effect of the impact of slavery on the development of quote unquote black culture.
We'll have to come back to that because we are sadly we are approaching our limit. So yeah, we might have to do a part 3. Okay. So would you want
about 50 seconds?
Yeah. Would you like to fly back from up the street to join us for part 3 one day?
Yeah, sure.
I'll spring for some Burger King this time. You like Burger King? I got a good Burger King. I'll show you a good spot. Show you a good spot for Burger King.
Like I've never been here before.
A burger joint. Yeah, I got this burger joint. You like it?
So once again, really quickly, thank you guys for watching. This is my co-host Steve. I'm Gaston. Our lovely guests, Papa Horn.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't sound as cool.
Old Man Horn.
It's like I need a